So I, Josh Hayek, and Lebanese vegans and Hayek Hospital, the very first vegan hospital in the world, support the Million Vegan Grandmothers launch of International Calf and Cow Mothers Day 2026. It's an event held in honor of the sacred bond between mothers and babies of all species. We're not talking about cows only, but all species. We can all participate by sharing our art, our posts, our recipes, and even why not hosting an event, which I am considering doing so at the hospital and at Lebanese Vegans. For everyone who wants to participate, please submit your art and your work to calfandcow.org.
Welcome to the Million Vegan Grandmothers podcast. Today I meet with George Hayek, the founder of the Lebanese Vegans and the owner of the first vegan hospital in the world. And hearing about how you have transformed your activism for the animals into both an organization and transform your business into a vegan hospital is just so amazing and so inspiring. Thank you so much, George, for being here today.
Thank you, Anne. Thank you for reaching out. And I'm really glad to be conducting this interview with you and in order to promote and spread awareness, of course.
Thank you so much. Would you like to just start to tell us a little bit how it all started, how you became this extremely extraordinary activist in creating the Lebanese vegans and creating your family business into a vegan business and so on? Would you just like to tell me a little bit about the background?
Sure. I turned vegan back in 2014. This is when I was exposed to the horrors of animal agriculture through social media. I stumbled into footages of animals, cows, chicken, pigs, lamb being slaughtered in slaughterhouses. This is when I realized that I was contributing to all this. And I realized that what I was witnessing didn't reflect the person that I am, because I truly believe that I'm a peaceful person who seeks justice, and whereas our actions they state differently. So this is when I started doing my own research on that matter. I figured out that the animal agriculture has been lying to us all those years for the profit, for their profit, and they disregard the animals, and they even disregard the environment and our health. This is when I started. First of all, I went vegetarian because I didn't know more about the dairy industry, and through my journey, I've done my research on the dairy industry, and this is where I found that this industry is even more barbaric than the meat industry. The practices that they do are just horrible. This is when I went vegan, fully vegan, and I didn't want to keep this for myself. I wanted to spread awareness and to try to raise my voice um, uh, to defend those animals, those poor animals. It's when I opened a humbled page on Facebook, on social media, and then I grew into other platforms. Uh, and this is when, things improved in my personal opinion. I started exposing those industries. I started showing people basically those behaviors that are really inhumane. And back then I was like optimistic because, those industries, they do lie on secrecy. So for them, the more they are secret about their acts and behaviors and practices, the more they are in a good position. So I was optimistic with the internet and social media because it was a tool for us activists to be able to show and forward those secret, horrible acts to the public. And this is when, people got the right to know and to judge by themselves if they want to contribute to this or not. Today, after all those years of activism, I'm a bit less optimistic, let's say, because today it's no more the case that people don't know. Today, it's no longer the case that people are ignorant. No, people today they know. The majority of people have cell phones. The majority of people have stumbled into some slaughter video or some animal abuse in those industries. So people today they know, but I don't know exactly the reason why they still didn't take the ethical and moral stance toward all this. Maybe it's social conditioning, maybe because it's legal and they are hiding behind legality, maybe because Jesus ate fish, or maybe because Muhammad said that it's halal, or maybe they just try to find any kind of excuse to continue doing what they're doing and not like face the reality and have an ethical position towards all this.
Mm, mm. Yes, it's very difficult to know, and I think many activists like myself as well feel that way. It's sometimes really hard to understand what can reach some people. Some people are very open, of course, and some people are very hard to reach. What have you witnessed yourself as an activist during all these years? I mean, especially when it comes to the dairy industry, because I know you do this amazing campaign about cows don't produce milk, mothers do. Would you like to tell me a little bit about that, but also what you have witnessed yourself?
Well, what I've witnessed through my activism is that uh, I figured that a lot of people, including educated people, they just don't know that cows should be mothers and should give birth in order for them to produce milk. It's
Mm,
as crazy as it sounds, we've reached the moon, and yet educated people, don't know that cows are not milking machines.
mm,
So it was one of my biggest surprise. How come educated people don't know this simple biology fact? You know, so I figured that the industry is so powerful that it has been able to manipulate and to brainwash even educated people on that matter. So
mm,
this is crazy. This is the first thing that I realized. Another thing is that the people are conditioned to a degree where they are willing to pour some other other species secretions in their coffee, but they wouldn't in a million year uh, pour some neighbors same species coffee in their milk. So this is how much they are manipulated. This is how much they are brainwashed. They are disgusted by the secretions of their own species, and they are not disgusted by secretions from other species. This is
mm,
completely absurd, but it shows to what degree, to what percentage, to what level humans' brain can be manipulated, can be guided the way those big industries want us to be guided. So it's well about time for us to take our thinking back. We are supposed to think for ourselves.
mm,
We should have a reasoning which
mm,
we should reason for ourselves, not wait for anyone to reason on our behalf.
no.
Milk is basically food, but food for who? For babies. Why? Because they don't have teeth. They
Mm,
can't chew on hard food. This is
mm,
why it's called baby's food. How
mm,
on earth are we still drinking milk after weaning period? How on earth are we still drinking from other species? How on
mm,
earth are we still forcibly impregnating cows? How on earth are we taking babies away from their mothers, breaking motherhood, in order for us to be putting some secretions here and there and enjoy our coffee? This is
mm,
completely unacceptable. It's a shame. It's a shame to the whole humanity to accept such thing.
mm,
And I truly believe that it's well about time for activists like ourselves to take things to the next level. First of all, I truly believe that if we truly collaborate all together and like create an impact on a specific subject, like today we're talking about dairy and motherhood breaking. So if we all activists focus on one subject and start talking and do a campaign, basically, a campaign towards this single issue, we should get better results because this way we are highlighting in a strong and efficient way while spreading to the biggest audience possible the horrors done in those industry. And basically, in a way or another, we should hold people accountable and
mm,
show them exactly to what they are contributing. Not because it's legal, we should wear gloves while talking to them. We should be honest and true to ourselves first and then true to them while talking to them. We shouldn't beat around the bush. We shouldn't sugarcoat the truth. We shouldn't give them the impression that it's an option that they can consider or not. I mean, if we talk to any other injustices, that is, we would never have an apologetic approach toward any other injustice. We would be very clear that this is wrong and this should stop. Very simple. If we talk about child abuse, if we talk to domestic abuse, any other injustice that is, you would never see an apologetic approach towards those injustices,
mm.
right?
Yeah.
We would have people very strict and very clear in
Mm,
their message that this is wrong and this is unacceptable.
mm,
Full stop. The problem with veganism, in my humble opinion, is that because it's legal to kill animals and to eat their body and secretions, this is why few activists perceive it as maybe it's better for us to have an apologetic approach and try to, be lenient. No, it's wrong because it is giving the impression that this is a second degree injustice. And once it's no longer a priority, no one will be eager to take action towards
mm,
that. So they will think, yeah, it's not an important issue. We can put it aside. There are more important issues to talk about. Wars, people are killing each other. Let's put this minor injustice in the drawer, which is completely wrong. We should be have a strong voice, a loud voice towards those practices, stop being apologetic, stating things the way they are, pointing out their hypocrisy, their inconsistencies, especially if people pretend that they are peaceful person, they seek justice and peace. They cannot be sponsoring
mm,
violence and basically injecting violence into their bodies because at the end of the day, what constitutes a person is not what he thinks of himself, but what he does. So
mm,
I can pretend that I am the king of the world, but if it's not the case, I would never be the king of the world. So I can pretend that I am a and justice seeker, but I go and be rude with my employees. I go and I beat my child at home. I am impolite with people. So basically, I am not a peaceful and justice person. So then again, for people who claim peace and talk about peace, from religious people to any kind of person who claims to be a peaceful person, he cannot be if he's not vegan. I mean, veganism is nothing but the baseline of morality, the baseline of justice. It's not something that it's not an award to be vegan. It's the minimum that anyone
Mm.
can do because for the very simple reason, what we're taking from the animals, whether it's their bodies or their secretions, those are not our property in the first hand. So being vegan, it's not something that we're doing, something good that we're doing. It's the minimum to do towards the animals and towards justice, basically, because I keep on reminding people that veganism has nothing to do with loving animals as much as it is with seeking justice. When we go back to our topic today, dairy and cow and calves, when we are separating the baby from his mother, are we justice seekers? Isn't it horrible? Isn't it an act of barbarism to be breaking motherhood just for us to be putting their food into our coffee? We should be clear that this is barbarism, this is moral bankruptcy, this is unacceptable. And especially when I talk about this and I undergo such campaign, I try to tackle mothers in general. Talk to mothers. I mean, since you are a mother, aren't you affected by some other species we are breaking their motherhood? I mean, since you are a mother, you should know. You should know the bond that you have towards
Yeah.
your.
What is the right reaction from women or mothers when you say that? I mean, are people usually looking at their own mother bond child or mother child bond, or what is the usual reaction?
Listen, I do get a lot of different reactions.
Mm.
I do get reactions as of people who are shocked and are just against what I just mentioned, and others they do try to find excuses. And this is when I figured out that even if you are a mother, you are not, you don't necessarily have empathy and relate to other mothers. It's a shame. It's a shame, and yeah, as I mentioned earlier in our interview, I started activism. I was a bit more optimistic because I thought it was only a matter of time for good people to stumble into the reality and to take the right decision. Whereas I figured out that those people they did stumble into the reality, but they didn't change. In counterpart, they kept on finding excuses, and this is the biggest disappointment in my activism journey.
Mm. Yeah. When it comes to your campaign now, have you when did you launch it and how long will it run and what kind of support have you got so far from it?
Of course, listen, I've launched the campaign both at Lebanese Vegans and at the hospital as well.
Mm.
I turned the hospital 5 years ago today. March, we are celebrating 5 years today of offering exclusively plant-based vegan food to our patients. Um, it has been quite an impressive journey so far. A lot of positive and some negative. The negative, for people who don't know, they're not educated enough. They just ask questions. It's fine. We are here to answer. Now, for our campaign, the daily campaign, uh, I've worked with our vegan dietitian, Ms. Samira Ofan, in order to conduct like a pamphlet that will be printed very soon, and this pamphlet will be distributed to all our patients in order for them to get more information on them better and take it home and do their own research. Because, as you know, and as much as we try to inform people, uh, we can only but trigger their curiosity,
Mm.
and if you are able to trigger their curiosity, this is when we have achieved something. We want them to go back home and to do their own research, to search for the dairy industry, because a lot of people would think that maybe us activists are exaggerating, you know. So when I try to when I'm into my activism approach, I always tell them, don't listen to what I'm saying. Go back home, see if what I'm saying is true or not. See if in the dairy industry this is what happens or not. So our campaign, especially at the hospital, we focus on both aspects because I'm an ethical vegan first and upmost. So even though I included veganism in the hospital, which I've tackled it from the medical and scientific approach, but I still talk about ethics, and ethics is the most important aspect in what concerns me personally. So while giving information on why dairy is bad for human consumption, I do talk as well from the ethical perspective how it's unethical for any person to be responsible to breaking motherhood to any species that is. And I try to, we try with our dietitian to give them the information that they need to inform them that no cows are not milking machines. Cows, as any female, needs to be pregnant, needs to give birth in order for them to be able to produce milk. Another point, and I would like to talk about talking about dairy. When I approach people on dairy, a lot of people suddenly start purchasing milk and cheese from their dairy local mountain farm, suddenly. So I'm like, okay, I'm all in for that. But let me ask you a question. Do you know why this particular cow at the mountain, which is being treated very well by your local farmer, do you know why she produces milk? Well, some of them knows, some of them doesn't know. And for those who know, yeah, she should have a baby, but in the mountains, it's not like in the factory farms. They do let the calf stay with the mother and have milk from the mother, and the excess of milk, well, we drink it. So I usually continue by asking them, okay, so you do know that the cow should be pregnant since you are mentioning that the calf is having milk from his mother. What about the next year? If you want to keep on purchasing milk and cheese from this particular mountain local farmer, next year, don't you think that he should impregnate the cow again so that this cow will have another baby and will produce milk? They are like, yeah, you're right. And then I ask them, what will happen to the calf that are being giving birth? I mean, if it started by a small local farm, well, each year you have a new comer to this local farm, and in a few years he's gonna end up with a bunch of cows and calf and male calves, and so even local mountain farmers uh, is not a solution. They will end up impregnating cows every year if every year they want to be selling local mountain dairy. So the problem is still there. The impregnation is still happening. The babies are still being taken away from, and then it's impossible for any local farm to stay local farm because, as I mentioned, every year there will be a newcomer, and
Mm.
then they will end up with so many bovine in their farm. So a small farm will eventually grow big.
Yeah, exactly.
And it will happen as well for those male calves, since they don't produce milk. He will either kill the male calf or he will sell it to the veal industry.
Yeah.
So whether it's local sourced or whether it's sourced from big factory farms, those practices are still there here and there, and
Mm.
those practices should be abolished once and for all.
Exactly. And I have interviewed investigators who have been to really small family farms and just witnessed the most horrific abuse you can imagine. So it's not because it's a little farm, it's all cozy. It can be very, very, very harsh. And I mean, like we all know, or like we both know, dairy industry is built on a normalized violence that is cruel beyond imagination. And that is really worldwide. And I think it's really time that we open that door. There is no, you know, pink, fluffy stories here. It is really, really horrific what is going on. And but it has been so normalized, so we almost think it's normal that a little calf is standing alone, isolated in the snow, in -10 degrees, newborn. It's almost norm. I mean, how did we reach to this point that we can normalize it? I mean, if we would treat a dog like that, we would go to the people would call the police, you know. But we can treat these cows like this and calves and bulls like this, and even worse. I mean, and people are like, yeah, they are meant for us, for our food, for our consumption, for our clothing and whatever, you know, for our leather bags, leather shoes. You know, they are seen as commodities in a way that is really, it's very sad how we come to this point, and we really need to. We are so conditioned as a humanity, and we really need to to look at this from another perspective. It really has to change 180 degrees how we view these sentience, kind, intelligent animals.
Absolutely. And the thing is that I figured out that people have selective empathy. And for me, selective empathy doesn't exist. It doesn't make sense. I mean, you are either you have empathy or you don't. So having empathy to dogs and cats, pets, and turn other animals into commodities, and this is absolutely it doesn't make sense, and it's not empathy. So selective empathy is not empathy at all, and people are selfish in a way because you give them the information, you show them the footages, they just don't respond. And this is when I figured out that we are not all born equal, and we are not all born inherently good people. Some are good, some are bad. We should. This is why I mentioned earlier that our message should be more firm and clearer that this is absolutely wrong. We should do something about it. Apologetic approaches turned out not to be effective. We should be clear and strict about this industry. We should try to hold people accountable and listen what you're doing. You are responsible for this and that and this and that. Uh, then again, because it's legal, they hide behind legality, and this is the lowest form of human dignity when we know that we are doing something wrong, but at the same time we hide behind it because it's legal in a way or another.
Mm. I think, and also like, I mean, I'm not born vegan. I was also very blind for a long time. I was a big cheese eater, for instance, and I went vegetarian early, but I was still eating a lot of dairy. And I think the way we need to tackle people is not only by facts and percentage and this and that. I just look for a new way of reaching out, and I think it's really exciting to see what can that be, because I feel it's something more that is needed to to reach out in a way.
I try to always when I talk to people, I try, especially when I talk about veganism, I try to always approach them from the ethical perspective and
Mm,
how immoral it is what we are inflicting to those animals, especially in the dairy industry. So I always try to talk from the the humane aspect of things. This is when I figured out that people try to avoid talking about the ethical part and they try to switch into the health part. Yeah, well, it's good to have dairy for calcium reasons, or it's not good, or so I always go back to them. I know I'm not talking about the health aspect. I'm talking about do you have a heart or no? Do you have empathy or no? Do you have sympathy or no? Do you have moral agency to differentiate between right and wrong? Do you even care if I tell you that with your cup of milk you are breaking motherhood? Do you even care or not? At least be frank with me. Tell me I don't care. Tell me I know what happens. I know that we forcibly impregnate cows. I know that we take babies away. I know everything, but I don't care. This is when I would just let this person alone. Today, this is the case, unfortunately.
I think you're also working right now in the midst of war. I mean, it has been a lot of conflicts actually for a very long time in the area, but now it has escalated. But still, I had the honor to interview a few activists from the Middle East, including you, vegans in Palestine, Middle East Vegan Society, and a few others from Turkey and so on. And it has been like mind blowing how amazing activism is going on. Also in Gaza, it has been, rescuing animals and so on. And I just feel so humble, that people are doing this in these harsh conditions. And it was one person who said to me that, yeah, but because we are so used to always have death so near. So for us, we are not waiting for being very privileged or have everything fixed in our lives. We just have to do something. The justice for us is so important. I mean, do you have any comments on that or thoughts on that?
Listen, Anne, you are absolutely correct, and I would like to add something, if I may. Uh, I'm thinking out loud why in this part of the region we are active in this aspect. Maybe because it takes one to know one. I mean, maybe it takes for one to be hurting to know what's being like to be hurt.
Yeah.
I don't know if it makes sense if I try uh, to put it in a good phrase. I mean, we are hurt as people. We know what's like to be oppressed, abused.
Yeah.
This is when we can relate with others.
Exactly. Yeah.
So when we see a poor animal in the slaughterhouse begging for his life and terrified, we can relate in a way or another because I am sitting in my office now. At any moment, our interview can be interrupted. A missile can come and just blow me and my office and the hospital at any time. So we are in a constant, we're living in constant danger, knowing that at any time we can die and be killed. Living in those harsh circumstances, it gives you the sense of you would know what it's like to be in this situation. You would know what's like to be depressed, to feel anxiety, to feel abused, oppressed. You know what's like. Uh, we don't want to inflict this to others. Since we know how hurtful it is, we don't want to inflict this to others. This is because we are maybe closer in a way of being abused, you know. This is why maybe our part of the world is active, if it makes sense.
Makes total sense. And I think you're absolutely right. And I think also that, you know, it was someone who said to me, like, we can always read us to education, but we can only suffer towards wisdom. And in a way, that is also something that touched upon this. It's suffering is very, very hard, but it also transforms something into wisdom and transforms something into love. I mean, if you do it right. And I think many people who have suffered, they have a deep knowledge of more wisdom in a way or another.
Exactly, and it's the same thing as if I'm telling you a person who never got hungry. Every
Mm,
time he used to eat on time and
mm,
big portions. So this person never experienced hunger.
yeah,
So if you ever come and talk to him, you try to tell him, listen, there's your neighbor who's hungry.
mm,
He wouldn't understand. He would tell you, what's hungry?
yeah,
It doesn't exist. So because we are living in those hard times and we are living in basically swimming in anxiety and stress and depression, we can relate. I mean, when I look to those animals' eyes, I can see their despair, which I see in people's eyes in the region. They are desperate. They are scared of losing their life at any time. Uh, so yeah, it takes one to know one, basically.
yeah. I just also want to touch upon your hospital that it's so beautiful what you have created. And just for those who don't know that it's not only plant-based, but once I was interviewing before and you told me that everything is plant-based in
In
the
the
hospital. The
furniture, even
materials,
blankets.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Uh, this being said, you have some medications, unfortunately, that is tested on animals, or some medications do have some animal products. Since we're living in a non-vegan world, we have our limitations. But our job is to navigate through those limitations and make the best out of it, basically.
yeah. So and everything you have now is material that nothing comes from animals. There are no
No
silk, no wool.
blankets, no silk, no wool, no leather for our no nothing. Everything is replaced by faux leather, by synthetic material, blankets, and the good part is that every day once I conduct my visit at the hospital, I enter the kitchen of the hospital and I don't smell dead bodies in my hospital. This it's really priceless because we all know the smell of meat, of raw meat, which is or it's basically the smell of death. So I
Mm,
don't have it in my hospital, thank God.
yeah. Would you like to share any particularly like impactful experience you have had? It can be good or bad, but something you have experienced during these years as a vegan activist that you would like to share.
Well, Anne, I can go back to what I said earlier. My experience, told me that being apologetic is wrong. Being afraid to hurt the oppressor's feeling is wrong. I'm not being true to myself. I'm not being true to the animals that I'm defending. We should know very well, and that whenever we go vegan, we're gonna lose a lot of so-called friends and maybe some members of the family. We should know very well that we will be marginalized in a world where we are the minority. We will feel left aside. We will feel not part of the herd anymore. So for everyone who would want to consider going vegan, I would give him the advice to educate himself more on the matter so that he would never go back to abuse animals again.
Mm. Mm. In this campaign, we have been talking about that we are doing as well as you are. We are also working on the first International Calf and Cows Mother's Day that will take place in May 9 and 10th. And we really want to work on this, how we can can widen our circle of compassion beyond the human bond between mother and child that is so sacred in our culture, you know. And but still the whole animal agriculture is based on the separation there. So how do you think it's the best way to include, I mean, you have been talking about this quite a lot, but I mean, the way ahead, the way forward, is it more information or is it new platforms or is it collaboration globally, or what do you see something that can work, that we can work with together to really make people widen their compassion to include all sentient beings and respect all sentient beings and the sacred bond between mother and child. And we don't only talk about cows, we talk about all animals in the sea, I mean, all animals, of course, and all humans.
Listen, and I think it's a bit of everything that you have just mentioned.
Mm,
It's a bit of educating, it's a bit of exposing, it's a bit of everything that you just mentioned. Uh,
mm,
but in my point of view, in order for any message to have an impactful impact, is to have us all collaborating all together. All vegan companies, all NGOs, all activists, we should be talking about one subject and flood the internet and social media with one specific subject, not about many subjects, you know. So one subject, tackle it fully in a correct way. This I truly believe that it can give better results. So basically, collaborating together, exposing those industries, try to give comparison and example. I always, when I talk about dairy, I always give an example of my neighbor who just gave birth and she has excess of milk, and she figured out that the financial situation is quite difficult nowadays. So she thought, why not do from her own breast milk some milk to buy and some cheeses. And I always give this example to everyone, and they are all disgusted. And then I link it to, but you drink from another species. So, you know, try to trigger them into thinking. Maybe
mm,
this way, maybe another way, but trigger people. We should to be effective and to hope in reaching our goals. We should trigger. I truly believe in triggering people, not because you are annoying vegans, no, but because if you do not shake anyone's comfort zone, no one will ever change.
mm. Yeah. Thank you so much for your wonderful, incredible work for the animals and for a vegan world.